Good evening, sports fans! Wow, it's been a long time since I've been able to say that. My name is Crowbar for the Win, aka Danza, and I am thrilled to be reviewing the rule set for GBA Season 10 today. We're on the verge of GBA Season 10 uploads. Week 1 will be starting July 30th for the fans, so I wanted to take some time before then to review the parameters under which we will conduct this season. A complete version of these rules are also in the fan doc, which is in the description. There's a link down there. But anyway, let's jump into discussing the rules for the season. Assistant coaches will be the first thing we'll tackle. So as a new feature, each head coach will be required to have an assistant coach on their team. They obviously picked a person, and now they're a team unit. So with an AC, an assistant coach on the team, the assistant coach may coach at most 3 games during the season for any reason whatsoever. It could be because the head coach is traveling, it could be because the head coach is sick, some other emergency, it could be just because the head coach doesn't feel like playing that week, any reason whatsoever. There will still be one upload location, that's the intent, so whatever links you see down in the description are going to be where the videos are uploaded for each of the teams. So in this way, the assistant coach can act as a front office and a team partner to help with building, mock battling, anything within these rules. The only major no-no is no ghosting allowed whatsoever. We also have some parameters around our general managers. There are only a couple of them. They're really just production content managers, maybe like a team cheerleader if you see them on social media. General managers are completely optional to have, only a couple teams will have one, and they may not participate in building or coaching at all. We are focusing on the head coach and assistant coach for the team unit on the channel. Let's talk about how standings are going to work for this season. It is going to be different than anything you've probably seen before. We're not using differential in the traditional way it's been done in the GBA and in other leagues. We're going with a very points-based system. So we'll start with the basics first. Winning 1-0, 2-0, or 3-0, or I guess 0-0 if that happens, will give you 2 points for the season. If you win 4-0, 5-0, or 6-0, you will get 3 points. Forfeits would also fall in that category if needed. If you win by timer, by any amount whatsoever, you get +2. This is determined by the game. A timer loss. So if you lose due to timer expiring, you'll still get a point. So that's definitely a very different way of doing it. A loss, obviously, would be 0 points. And a true tie, which is super rare, would be 1 point for both teams. Another major difference this season is the addition of bonus points to factor into standings. So on a weekly basis, there will be quite a few bonus points that could potentially apply to the base points that were described on the previous slide. So one of the first ones here is Unstoppable. If a Pokemon scores 4 or more KOs, then that coach will score a bonus point for the week. Another, and this is a major one, could have maybe been its own slide if I wanted, Hometown Hero. Each coach will have 5 dedicated home games and 5 dedicated away games. Coaches will have the opportunity to get an additional bonus point during each of their 5 home games if they win. There is no advantage to winning an away game, and losing a home game doesn't take away a point. It's purely to add a point if you win a home game. So the list of which games will be home games versus away games will be on the schedule on the doc. So that way it is perfectly clear. There is also one extra bonus called Not Today, where if a Pokemon on your team survives an attacking move from an opponent with 5 HP or less without the support of Focus Sash, Focus Band, Sturdy, Endure, or being behind a substitute, that is 1 bonus point extra you can claim for that game. You can only do that once per battle though, so if you have 5 Pokemon that somehow live on 1 HP during a game, you can't claim 5 bonus points, it's max of 1. At the end of the season, at the end of week 10, our offensive MVP, the Pokemon with the highest kill to death ratio, KDR, will have its team awarded an extra point. If there are any ties, it would go to both teams. We also have the Millennium Shield here for the essentially defensive MVP. It's a tough metric to kind of figure out, but we came up with what I call GADR, games appeared to death ratio. A Mon has to be sent on the field, can't just be in the party. The team that has the Pokemon with the highest GADR ratio will get a bonus point at the end of Week 10. And here's another key distinction that's very different from previous seasons. Standings are going to be determined based on overall points ahead of wins. So it's a bit more NHL style in that regard. So first you have points, then if points are tied, it'll go to number of wins. If number of wins are tied, it'll be the head-to-head matchup between the teams that are tied. And if that's not sufficient to break a tie, we're just going to do a 3v3 metronome battle with any Pokemon that can learn metronome in the game. And just go crazy, see who wins, and that'll probably sort out our tie by then. Few more major points to note is that the top 6 of 12 teams will make the playoffs after Week 10. The top 2 teams will have a bye week, and then 3rd place will play 6th place, 4th place will play 5th place, and then wild card week, and the bracketing, the tiering will readjust so that 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3. And then obviously the 2 winners will play in the GBA Season 10 Championship. Now let's talk about Pokemon rosters. So as you kind of can see from the draft, 10 or 11 Pokemon are allowed on teams with up to 2 Terra Captains. 1 Terra type must be Stab. Trades will be allowed during the season as long as point and tier requirements are met, and there's a Week 7 trade deadline. Then we have free agency. Free agents can be picked up until the free agent deadline in Week 7. Your Terra type also can be changed throughout the season. If you change it, it must follow the rules, and it also counts as a transaction. So between free agency pickups, Terra type changes, and trades, each team has a maximum of 3 transactions during the season. And now we'll cover some basic clauses for the season. We obviously have species clause, so Rotom, all forms, Indeedee, Normal and Galar, Alola and Paldea forms, Lycanroc forms, Genies, like the Landorus, Thundurus, etc. All of those forms can be drafted separately despite having the same Pokedex number. We also have Sleep Clause, pretty traditional. Can only have 1 Pokemon put to sleep by sleep-inducing moves. Dire Hits, a separate case, we'll cover that in a moment. We have Typical Evasion Clause. OHKO Move Clause, obviously OHKO moves can't be used. And our Extended Baton Pass Clause, which does not allow Baton Pass to pass a substitute or any stat boost, but may be used for momentum. Revival Blessing can't be used in conjunction with the move Sleep Talk or the item Lepaberry. The move Shed Tail can't be used, Last Respects cannot be used, and Dire Claw is actually legal. However, if an opposing Pokemon is put to sleep, the move can't be used until the opposing Pokemon is awake. This also applies for any sleep-inducing move, like Dire Claw, obviously, Yawn, Sleep Powder, etc. This extends to if the opposing Pokemon is put to sleep by other moves beforehand, like Sleep Powder, Spore, Yawn, in which case, the move Dire Claw cannot be used until it awakens. Our GBA Season 10 uploads will typically be on Sundays. There may be a few coaches that might upload occasionally on Monday to help accommodate them as they wrap up in other leagues, which also upload on Sunday. Team builders will be required, and they may be uploaded immediately prior to the battle in the same video, or in a separate video a couple days before, as the coach sees fit. And finally, regarding rule violations, teams will be penalized if there are any disciplinary issues, if they break rules, if they break clauses, etc. during the season. We have an entire internal table that you can see on the GBA Fan Doc with some potential situations. Typically, penalties will just be lost points in the standings. However, in rare or extreme cases, suspension is on the table, especially for something like ghosting. And that's all for now. Be on the lookout for our uploads on July 30th. The analyst content that's going to be upcoming in this channel. Join the GBA Fan Server in the description below, and feel free to check out the Fan Doc. If you don't think I explained something well, or you wanted a little more clarification, please check out the tab on the Fan Doc with a greater explanation on all the rules. If you don't think that's great, go into the fan server, at me, and let me know if you have any questions. I would be happy to answer them. Alrighty, folks, have a fantastic day, and take care.